Choose Viatude fungicide and unleash best-in-class sclerotinia protection in canola and premium protection against white mold in soybeans. Viatude contains a powerful premix of Onmira Active and prothioconazole. This unique combo delivers high-performance disease control, crop safety, mix compatibility, resistance management, and advanced mobility for excellent coverage and superior plant protection. Choose Viatude fungicide for stronger, more vigorous crops.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Thursday edition of the show. Hey, thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. And, of course, a big shout out to everybody listening out there on the RealAg Radio podcast. Lots happening in the fields in weeks like this, yes. And a lot of it revolves around the sprayer. And I know some people are still trying to put some beans in eastern Canada. But for the most part, this is sprayer time, which is really go time, and of course, a lot of decisions during spraying time, right? Go, not go. It's too windy. Like it can be really it can be real frustrating because it's hard to plan out the day. You're up early in the morning. Maybe you got to go at night. It's just it creates a lot of disruption to the daily. You've got to plan what you're going to do today, and then by about 9 a.m., you've ripped it up and thrown it in the garbage and moved on to some other things and. That's just the kind of time it is. Hey, the Farmer Rapid Fire is brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada and Corteva Agriscience. Let me tell you about Viatude. It's a new fungicide for canola and soybeans. Get best-in-class protection from two of the strongest sclerotinia and white mold actives on the market. You can find out more by going to pioneer.com/Canada. Today on the Farmer Rapid Fire, we've got some great guests. Looking forward to catching up with some of these guys in terms of what's happening out in their fields. We'll be joined by Warren Schneckenburger, who's out in Morrisburg, Ontario. We got Peter Gredig, who's in St.Thomas, Ontario. Aubrey Yule is in Killarney, Manitoba. Chris Allam is in Edmonton, Alberta. And we're going to stop in with Pioneer area agronomist Colleen Redlick, who is in Saskatchewan. So we're crossing a pretty big geography there. And some of these areas got some pretty good crops out there, I think. We're going to definitely quiz them on that and a whole bunch more. Now, if you have any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. You can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find Real Agriculture across all the different social media applications, or you can always call the Real Ag feedback line. That number is 855-776-6147. That's 855-776-6147. And also, if you have any interest in being on the Farmer Rapid Fire, we're always looking for more farmers and ranchers. We are, yes. When I add to the roster people that are participating in this program, just send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Well, let's get going with the Farmer Rapid Fire. And we start off this week's tour in Morrisburg, Ontario. We're talking to Warren Schneckenburger. Warren, how's it going?
Great, Shaun. How are you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good. Okay, so what's going on the farm this week? What's happening?
Well, we're rained out of the fields. We had a little over 2 inches of rain on the weekend, and so we still got a bunch of spraying to do, but crops are all in, growing well, but it has been a wet, delayed spring, sure.
Yeah, so like a frustrating amount of rain, too much, okay, just enough. What's sort of the synopsis?
Well, we've definitely had too much. Yeah, we started off the year about 10 to 14 days behind. We've had pretty consistent, steady rain events with 3, maybe 4 days in between. We were able to get some planting done. And so crops are behind, but for the most part have established well. Some of the poor drained fields are definitely showing some signs of too much water. But overall, my corn or Eastern Ontario, I won't complain. There's certainly producers worse off than we are in the province.
With all that moisture, have you been able to get out there and do some weed control?
Yeah, first pass spraying's done. Working on the second pass, cleaning up some problem weeds. It's been a struggle now with we've had a couple large rain events recently, and the days it's not raining, it seems to be the wind won't stop blowing. So it's there's always something to complain about on the farm, but we're getting through it. We've been able to keep up. One of the advantages of a delayed crop is you have a little bit more time to get spraying done.
Yeah, well, we are good at complaining, right? No year's perfect, but it's just challenging, right? You just want it to kind of go smoothly, and it's just there's enough adversity to it knocks everybody off their game a little bit.
A little bit, but again, overall crops look good, so I won't complain too much.
Yeah, are you seeing any sins of spring at all, like in terms of mistakes or anything like that?
We've had a little bit. We grew some edible beans again this year. There were some challenges with some of the pre-emerge herbicides causing a bit of seedling injury. I guess I'm not alone in that across the province. Some challenges, particularly with soil supply, being too efficacious because of excess rainfall. But overall, we've been okay. I know there has been some challenges with, we had some pretty high temps a whole week, well into the 30s during the go time for spraying corn particularly. There was certainly some, I'd say some dicamba injuries to some corn from heat. But overall, the sins of spring are definitely there. You can tell we mudded in a few headlands here and there. They're not what you would consider a picket fence stand, but that's the way it goes.
So what are some of the things you're going to be focusing on out in the field here for the next couple of weeks?
I've got to get spraying done, finish up on second pass of corn and beans. Winter wheat harvest is just around the corner. And, try and spend some time with the family if I can.
Yeah. How does that wheat look?
Our wheat looks excellent. We had some winter kill summer, but the wheats, it seemed to come through that hot week right during grain, the important part of grain fill just after pollination. I'm quite optimistic, but wheat, kind of like soybeans, can lie to you by the way it looks. So won't really know till the combine rolls, but it's certainly going to be a top 5 crop anyways.
Yeah, you for sure had to spray fungicide on that wheat, no?
Absolutely. 2 passes this year. With that wet and cool May we had, and an early start to the crop, that T1 fungicide pass, I think, paid for itself pretty well, but again, we'll see when the combine rolls.
Yeah, are you seeing signs of fusarium?
Not yet. I walked the field yesterday. So far, things are clean. These newer products, and we focused. There's been so much focus in the province on doing a good job, especially on that T3 fungicide. I don't think it's as concerning as it was 20 years ago, but it's certainly something on the back of our mind with all this rain.
Yeah, we
clean head.
Yeah, we've sure educated ourselves a lot more on use of like a fungicide product and that proper timing and the application, and like we are moons ahead of where we were even just 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're ready for harvest? The equipment's all ready. It's just parked and just got to start it and go.
Absolutely. Without question. We're always ahead of the game here at Cedar Lodge Farms. No, we definitely got some work to do. Planters still need to be cleaned up. We got the preliminary cleaning done, but with how much rain there was, we were worried about a replant on some of the lower lands. Ended up not having to do that, fortunately, but hopefully in the next few days we can get the planting equipment cleaned up and switch gears and start focusing on harvest.
You mentioned before harvest, try to get some family time in. What are the plans? What are the intentions?
We don't know. my wife sitting beside me just smiled at me. It's our 10-year anniversary this year too, so I think I better do something.
Well, if anybody has any suggestions for Warren on how to, how to celebrate a 10th wedding anniversary, I think you got to go big, Warren.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be sure to wait for your email with a list of suggestions.
Okay. Well, I don't know your wife, but honestly, I would imagine that she deserves something that is very worthwhile because she's got to put up with you, Warren.
Absolutely.
I've nailed it.
Yeah. You know me too well, Shaun.
We should do a spouse version of the Farmer Rapid Fire here to get some of the truth of what goes on some of these farms. I think that might be a good idea.
Really
fun. So, hey, when we get into harvest, what do you tend to do? Do you get lots of time in the combine seat, or you do some other stuff? What's kind of your role at harvest?
Well, our farm, like many, we're short on help, so pretty well everyone tries to do everything. I do tend to stay in the combine, but also do king and everything else as well. Dad is quite active still on the farm, and he loves his elevator, so he tends to keep the dryer moving smoothly and keeping track of yields and records and stuff. But it's harvest is an all hands on deck kind of. It used to be more firm. This was your job, but anymore, everyone has to wear multiple hats.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, a farmer described it as organized chaos.
Pretty much, yeah. That's a good way of describing it, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Warren, all the best to you here to get this growing season completed. Hopefully Mother Nature dries up a little bit and cooperates, and you have a great wheat harvest and it moves into some of the other crops, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks. Thank you, Shaun.
Great stuff. Okay, we'll be right back on RealAg Radio, brought to you today by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
Choose Viatude fungicide and unleash best-in-class sclerotinia protection in canola and premium protection against white mold in soybeans. Viatude contains a powerful premix of Onmira Active and Prothioconazole. This unique combo delivers high-performance disease control, crop safety, mix compatibility, resistance management, and advanced mobility for excellent coverage and superior plant protection. Choose Viatude fungicide for stronger, more vigorous crops.
I get to spend every day talking to farmers in the ag industry through RealAgriculture.com and RealAg Radio. But nothing is more fun than speaking to an audience live and in person. If you're planning an ag event, book a Real Agriculture speaker to make it a successful and memorable experience. Email shaney@realagriculture.com and you can book myself or any other Real Ag personality to speak at your event. Bring your audience all the fun, insight, and energy of Real Agriculture.
Peter Johnson at Wheat Pete, RealAgriculture.com, and what an opportunity! Oh my gosh! You think you can't grow better wheat? You are absolutely wrong. We're going to show you how to strive for those record wheat yields that they get in the UK and in New Zealand. You can grow 150 bushel wheat. I'll show you how.
Catch Wheat Pete's Word every Wednesday on RealAgriculture.com or download the podcast on iTunes or Spotify. Let's continue the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. And let's stop in St. Thomas, Ontario, and we'll talk to Peter Gredig. Hey, Pete, how's it going?
Good, Shaun. How are you?
I'm doing good. Though I have to ask you this question before we get into the crops. What the heck is wrong with our Toronto Blue Jays?
Boy. Well,
that's a whole show, I know, but
yeah, it's a whole show. I guess it's underperforming. I don't know. I guess I just would say that a lot of the goodwill that the Jays Nation has accumulated, over the years, they're burning through it pretty quickly. So I guess that's what I'd say about that.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for punishment, so I still watch and I still listen, even though I know they like a 5% chance to make the postseason. Do you still follow, even though it's been a pretty tough road, or you kind of turn it off?
Well, the natural order of things is that when the hockey ends, you just switch to baseball full on. So I'm just trying to get my gumption up to start. I mean, I've been listening to the games in the tractor and that, and you keep thinking that, well, here's the turnaround, right? And then they blow it in the end, and it's not the turnaround. So I'm hopeful. I mean, I'm a lifer. I'm in for the long haul. It just appears that maybe the chemistry or the pieces just aren't quite there, and it's like crop years, right? You get them next year.
Yeah, something is amiss. How are things looking out in the field?
Well, it's variable. I mean, it was a long, extended plant season. Some guys are still planting. If you waited long enough for your clay soils to be perfectly fit, you're still waiting. And the crop insurance deadline on, I believe, soybeans, I think, is July 1st. So we're getting into those decisions. It's one of those. I've never had a season where I'm putting my planter away and pulling the combine out for wheat harvest literally, within a couple of days of each other. So we have an early wheat crop coming on, and just like I said, a really extended, sporadic planting season. So some of the early stuff has come through some, the tough periods, and is starting to look good. And we're getting a bit of rain, so it's I think things are recovering and looking good. It's just been a weird spring.
We were just talking to Warren Schneckenburger from the Morrisburg area, and he says his wheat looks fantastic. How does your wheat look?
It does look fantastic. I mean, it really, really looks good. It's just the F word we're worried about. Got sprayed for fusarium, and we're just hoping that because we had incubator kind of conditions for mold. Hopefully the sprays work, and but I think it's a good crop. It looks like a tabletop. It looks good.
Yeah. It's interesting. On Monday's show, we heard from Horst Bonner, the soybean specialist in Ontario, and he said even with these late planted beans, you still could have like 90% yield potential, which that surprised me. I would have thought that we'd be backed off more than that, but I guess that is encouraging, and you can't get down on your luck. It's like, I got to get these beans in.
Not how you start, it's how you finish. But I think we've learned over it's become more apparent here in the last, 5 or 10 years is that beans are about August. And if you can get the factory established and get the plant going, and you have a suitable August into September, kind of extended summer, good things can happen. So I think the latest I've ever planted soybeans was July the 9th. And I think we had an above average crop that year just because we had such good conditions after it. So you can't get down. I think we have potential to have an average or better crop. We just need things to go well from here on out.
Have you been getting quite a bit of rain? I was in Toronto a couple weeks ago during that heat blast, and it was hot. And when I flew out the next morning, it rained so hard. It was incredible. What have you been getting for moisture?
Well, it's we were talking. We're getting that summertime daytime heating. Somebody is going to get rain almost every day, it seems. Are you in the right spot or not? One of Peter Johnson's friends on his podcast, he's talking about near Strathroy, and he hadn't been able to turn a wheel. Just couldn't. And that far from him, there were people that were really needing a rain. So we're just into this summertime. The systems bubble up, and you might get it, you might not. So it's possible because literally within 5 miles, you'll have different stories about whether you need it or don't.
Yeah. Well, and you were even talking like even tornado warnings and things like that.
Yeah, I read an article that said that Ontario's become we're now the Ontario capital of Canada province-wise, but it just is this function of these, intense systems that bubble up with the heat. And I think it's something that comes with the climate change. We're just getting these hotter conditions earlier in the so you get the summer storms happening in the spring, which, it just, you don't get the blanket rains across, half the province. It's just here and there, and it's intense.
Yeah. So is all the harvest equipment ready to go? Combines are just sitting there ready to for the call, or do you got some work to do yet?
Oh, a little bit of work, but I would say, the wheat's really turned color in the last, 6 to 8 days. So that's the signal. But truthfully, we're still spraying, and we're still doing planting follow-up stuff. So, there's generally a break in between. There just isn't going to be a break this year in between. So right into it. And I think with the threat of Fusarium head blight, I really think people will be wanting to get going, even when it's a bit wet.
As soon as they can.
Just grab it and hopefully those that we're clean, and then we can manage accordingly. But that's the only threat to it. It is a beautiful looking crop. I think the yield is there for sure. Yeah,
when we get these seasons where different pieces of the growing season, the functions, they all overlap, and it really does take priority management, thinking about, okay, I can do this or I can do that today. What's important? What's critical? What do I have to do, based on the where we are in the calendar, the stage of the crop, and all that kind of stuff. So this is definitely a year across many parts of Canada where there's no break in between planting and spraying and harvest. It's all on top of each other.
Yeah, and I think there's people driving tractor that haven't done it for a while. There's, everyone's being pressed to get through some of it. So I'm, just between myself and neighbors, you see anybody that can turn a wheel is in action because, we're just trying to do a lot of things at the same time.
Yeah. You get any time, relaxation time? We only get so much summer. Have you been able to take advantage of any of it?
Not very much yet, but the advantage of an early wheat harvest is that it's a pretty good interval until soybean harvest. Now, I think a lot of guys are going to take a look at putting a crop of soybeans in after the wheat comes off. Mm-hmm. So I think that'll be a decision that we need to make, but based on how much moisture there is in the forecast, but between wheat harvest and soybean harvest, so we'll get up to the lake.
Yeah, nice stuff. Yeah, break out that literature on double crop and beans, and we got a bunch of videos up at soybeanschool.com as well.
Right.
Hey, Pete, thanks a lot for joining us here. All the best luck to you during harvest here. Okay.
Thanks, Shaun. It's good to chat with you.
Awesome stuff. Okay, that is Peter Gredig from St. Thomas, Ontario. We're back here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right after this.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today. Canola is more than just a pretty face in the prairie landscape. It's a big business, both here and around the world, that requires you to be informed and up to date on everything it takes to grow a successful crop. The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com has an expert library of video resources covering markets, agronomy, and more to help you grow a healthy and profitable canola crop. Visit canolaschool.com today. Brought to you by BASF Canada and Invigor Hybrid Canola. It's summertime, and you've got a lot of important decisions to make when it comes to your corn crop. Let the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com help guide you through those big decisions with input from leading experts in the field. If it's spray timing, disease identification, or any other field issue, the Corn School's got you covered. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com. Brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to Killarney, Manitoba. We're talking to Aubrey Yule. Aubrey, how are we making out today?
Doing well, Shaun. How are you doing?
Pretty good. You're spraying right now, are you?
Yeah, doing some Liberty on the canola, and that'll wrap up our herbicide.
How are the crops looking?
Pretty good. We've had a fair bit of moisture this year, so all the low spots are kind of drowned out, but everything else is looking really good at the moment.
Yeah, it depends on the topography of your land, but in some cases, like you're okay to put up with some of those wet spots, provided that the rest of the ground gets the adequate moisture it needs. We kind of need the heat to turn up just a little bit, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I was looking at the forecast; it looks a little cooler for the next week or so. So yeah, canola likes it warm, so it'd be nice to get some warmer days coming up.
Yeah. Do you do all the spraying on the farm yourself?
Yes, we picked up a newer sprayer, or new to us, last year, just to increase efficiency, and it's been working really well. So I've trained my brother-in-law and my dad to use it now, so it's nice. I can take a break when I want to.
Yeah. So what features does this new to you sprayer have that the one previously didn't, that you really enjoy?
It was mostly a size upgrade, so a larger tank went from 800 gallons to 1,200, and then wider boom. So it's 90 feet on the one before, and this one's 120.
Oh man, 120 feet. I remember we went to 90 feet, and it was sort of like, wow, this is huge. Now we're 120 is just like, those booms are way out there. And we're going at pretty decent speeds. Do you find spraying stressful or something that you really enjoy?
Most days it's enjoyable. The odd time it's stressful. Like, it's stressful when you want to cover a lot of ground and it's raining and windy, or you're getting shut down for kind of weather reasons. That's the stressful part about it for me. But for the most part, it's a lot of fun because you are going faster. It's like the faster part of the farm.
Yeah, it is. Like, you think about it, right? With planting, we're told to go slower. With combining, we hope we crawl, because then we've got a really good crop, right? Yeah, right. So spraying is the one activity where we actually get to let her rip, and you get to see a little bit of speed and cover some acres. But a lot of decisions. There's a lot of like, do I go? Don't I go? What's the forecast? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the amount of decisions we're having to make that kind of wears us out after a while.
Yeah, it sure does. I'd rather just spray all day than do the hum and haw trying to figure out if you can go. That's also the stressful part. But it's for the most part a pretty good time. So
crops are looking pretty good though.
Yeah. We had some snow. When was that? Like May long, I believe. And it came down real hard and then melted basically within the day. But I think that was hard on the wheat crops, and wheat and barley kind of took a little bit of a hit. But they seem to recover okay.
Yeah. Do you have corn?
No, we've never grown corn. A lot of neighbors do it, and I think they have good luck, but we don't own all the equipment to do it, and we haven't quite crossed that bridge.
Yeah, no, for sure. Sorry, and I may have missed it, but how about soybeans?
Yes, we increased our soybean acres this past year. Just been getting decent yields with soybeans, and we bought a flex header, so easier to harvest, and it just kind of made more sense. The value of soybeans versus canola as of last fall was very close. I guess it still is. It's within $1 per bushel, and you don't have to put as much inputs into soybeans, so that's kind of the pros, and it's also easier seems easier to farm. Like after you plant soybeans, you just walk away and then spray it with a herbicide eventually. But with canola, you gotta just babysit it because it's just tiny and it's kind of a wuss for the first basically month of its life.
Yeah, getting attacked by flea beetles and all that kind of stuff too. And you gotta do what fits into you. You know, everybody builds a rotation differently. You gotta do what fits for your operation, right? For some people, it's the reverse. And so that's kind of what creates a lot of the diversity across the prairies, with so many different cropping options for sure. What else is on the calendar here for the next couple weeks in the growing season? What else is kind of top of mind for you to do?
Well, we'll finish spraying and then change tires over to the skinny and get going in the fungicides. Probably, I'm not too sure exactly when. It's usually July sometime. Yeah. But the early barley is just starting to get growing good, so it'll be time soon enough to do that. So basically spray.
Yeah, there's a lot of time in that sprayer seat. Do you do all your own fungicide application, or do you also get the airplane?
I usually do our own, yes.
Yeah. Well, that's some long days.
Yeah. So that was kind of why I wanted to get everyone else on board with the spraying, so that I could maybe go to the lake for a bit.
Do you get a chance to get away to the lake at all to sort of recharge?
Yeah, I tried to. I got up there for a couple of days this past weekend, so that was nice.
Nice. Are you? Do you like to fish, or are you a water sport guy?
Just go to the beach with the kids and hang out there.
Nice. Well, that's good too. There's nothing wrong at all with that. So with that sprayer, do you have you worked on your water trailer, your loader trailer at all?
Yeah, when we upgraded the sprayer, we bought a different water or a trailer, because before we were running an old 3-ton. It was a 1977, I believe, 3-ton. Might have been older than that. I can't remember at the moment, but so that it wasn't the most reliable. So it's nice to have. We've got a trailer pulled by a newer truck that is a little more. You can just count on it a bit better. I hear you. And if you can speed up some of those load times, you're getting more acres done in the day too, right? Yeah, exactly. It reduces the amount of trips to the well and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So overall, it sounds like you're feeling pretty good about this year so far.
Yeah, it's been a good year so far.
I like it. So you've got the markets figured out too, then? I
don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
We've sold kind of our normal percentage. We want to be 30% sold by fall, and we're around there. But the markets are kind of crapping the bed lately, so we're just kind of hanging tight, hoping for better for a little bit. But maybe that's a bad idea.
Well, they need to cooperate a little bit more. Well, hey Aubrey, I'll let you get back to the spraying. Really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're super, super busy, but really do appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Shaun.
Hey, we'll be right back on RealAg Radio, brought to you today by Pioneer Seeds Canada.
If you only listen to RealAg Radio, you only get half the picture. For greater insight into the issues that affect farming, tune in to RealAgriculture.com. Crops, livestock, machinery, farm management, and the markets, even food and travel. Real Agriculture Online digs deeper into the topics that affect the way you work and live. So get connected today. Read, watch, and listen to the people who know at RealAgriculture.com.
Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Shaun Haney, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on SiriusXM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today.
And we take the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, to Edmonton, Alberta. We're talking to Chris Allam. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Pretty good, you?
Good. Have you recovered from the big loss by the Oilers on Monday night? Don't bring it up too soon.
Yeah.
Too soon.
It's okay. I'll survive.
Yeah. Did you get to any games?
Didn't go to any games. I haven't gone to a game since COVID. So watched on TV.
You almost need to win the lottery to afford some of the tickets.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Or I'd like to win the 50-50 at
least. And you don't even have to be at the game to participate in that anymore. So there's that. There's one thing about watching on TV. Less lineup for the washroom, and the beer is cheaper.
And the food's better, too.
Yeah, well, there is. They got to have good food at that rink. It would probably be so expensive, though. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. How are crops looking?
Our agronomist says we got a once-in-a-lifetime crop coming. And then not just our field, but there's a lot of good-looking crops out there.
Once in a lifetime. That's
what he said.
That's putting a number on the board. Wow. That's nice.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have some bushels to move. I think. Don't count your chickens, but when you drive around, there's some good-looking crops. There's this whole thing about an inch of rain after seeding makes up for all the mistakes isn't really true though. There's some fertilizing that's not being done right. You can see some yellowing crops that need some attention.
Now, south of you in like the Red Deer area, we're entering the time of the year where they typically have a good crop, but they get worried about that. They're in that hail belt, right? Are you kind of north of is that something that happens often in your there, or are you kind of outside of it?
We get a little bit of hail every year on one field or another, but never. Well, there have been years we had that catastrophic 1,000 acres hit canola that was standing that has been really bad. But for the most part, we're okay. We need hail insurance, need crop insurance and hail insurance every year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you have to, right? Oh boy, that's it's definitely a must. So the temperature so we've got moisture, but the temperature hasn't really turned up yet. What's creating that environment for crops to the at the end point of June here to look so good in that area?
Well, moisture, time of the rains we've had, just on the brink of too much. But just and lots of really good farming practices too. I mean, there's lots of guys with good drills out there that did a good job getting their depth right and taking care of weeds, and so there's a bunch of good operational things, not just environment, that have led to some good crops for sure.
So on that note, I had somebody we're having a beer talking about just farming a couple weeks ago. A friend of mine from Ontario, and we were he brought up the fact that on practices, there's a lot of traditions in farming, and we learn, and every growing season's a learning experience, but our practices, and then you take improved practices and just better knowledge through research and just experience, and you add on some of the equipment and some of the advancements that have been made there. We're getting better at this game. Mother Nature doesn't cooperate all the time, but it's pretty amazing the impact that some of those things have had.
Well, I mean, you've got government asking the crop commissions, talking about soil health and all this stuff. We're losing a quarter section a day in Alberta of agricultural land. I think it's 300 acres total, but a quarter section or half of that is, good agricultural land, and production isn't going down. So we're not breaking that much land a day, I wouldn't think. But we're losing land, but yet we're still yielding. And you look at trend line yields, and what I've done on our farm, and what my dad's done, and other farmers, and the trend line yield, especially wheat, we've done some really cool stuff with. There's a feather in the cap of the Western Canadian farmer for doing a good job. I mean, there's weather and all that other stuff too, but it's amazing that you look at the Stats Canada reports, the USDA, and I mean, we're losing acres, but we're increasing yield. So there's something, we're doing something right.
Yeah, no, well put. Is there an example that comes to mind of something you can think of that you do now that like is really different than what you did when you were a kid, or just, thinking earlier in your career?
Yeah, so like mid-2000s switching to min-till and then getting a precision drill probably in, 2006. And then we didn't really know it was amazing what we could do with that, like getting that depth right. And yeah, you could grow good crops if you set that drill right, but we had an old Concord before we got a in a row. And there would be the odd field, there may be 3 or 4 fields that weren't, maybe I should have set it a little deeper there, a little more shallow, it was a little bit harder ground, a little bit softer ground, whatever. And then fertilization, we're doing a better job of fertilizing. We're soil sampling more, and we've got a pretty good crew backing us up, making recommendations on the administration side of things, making sure that we're tracking. We've got a big spreadsheet. We track everything and watching trend lines as far as those benchmark soil samples. So, I mean, those things are, GPS, weights and measures, being able to weigh your fertilizer as it's going to the ground actively, and then be able to weigh that crop as it's coming off, and be able to have a check there that says, okay, I did this and I'm getting more. And that's huge. Basing it on volume just doesn't cut it anymore. You need to have an actual weight.
So with the better, good looking crop that's out there, we still got to finish the season. We're not home yet.
Yeah.
Right? How does that impact your marketing and on the 24 crop? Does it at all at this point?
Well, we all know. I think every farmer is going to be behind right now. Nobody's 100% sold an average crop, and if we have a bigger one, so I mean, we should be marketing more probably. Like, are we going to see $7 wheat when we cross the finish line? Maybe. Like, we're down to 8 now. It's concerning because you look at the budgets and the way the costs have gone crazy on us, especially overhead. And then fertilizer hasn't backed off like it should have either, or like we were anticipating it backing off, and it just didn't get there yet. So yeah, I mean, it's scary. We had doing the budgets, 6 weeks ago, and what I thought it was going to be for pricing and fertilizer and stuff was like, well, for the year after. But even the crop we got in the ground, I mean, we spent a lot of money on that fertilizer too, right? So
yeah,
there's lots of decisions to make and lots of money to flow out, and if we get a big crop, it'll help some, but the prices going down really, really suck.
Yeah, we're going to need some of that extra yield to make up for some of that market sliding. That does make a lot of sense. Any plans to sort of also, I don't know, vacation time or just a couple days away at all? Any plans like that?
Probably some point I'll get away for a weekend or something, but probably in the winter we'll do a big vacation, go away for a week or 10 days or something. That's
a little bit easier to do that. Because you don't have livestock, do you?
Not anymore. We had a dairy. We sold that in 2006, 2007. So
okay,
it's just grain. But we're at the size now where it's just about as much work as the dairy was.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that works, right? Yeah. Well, hey, Chris, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Farmer Rapid Fire. Really, really do appreciate it. And this lifetime crop that your agronomist is talking about, let's bring it home, okay?
We'll see. Call me in a couple months, and we'll tell you if we counted the chickens before they hatch.
Well, being off to a good start, we can't begrudge that at all. It's good to see. It's nice to be on that optimum yield curve, and it's just trying to hold on to it for sure. So really do appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Hey, we'll be right back here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada, right after this quick break.
How's your seed quality? What should you treat with? What about herbicide carryover and environmental concerns? Spring is here, and you've got a lot of things to think about in regards to your pulse crop. The Pulse School on Real Agriculture has information and advice for all these questions and more to help you navigate this season. Brought to you by BASF. Pulse School episodes are available at pulseschool.com, realagriculture.com, or as a podcast on your favorite streaming service. Download the latest episode today.
I'm Lindsay Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomist, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomist with me, Lindsay Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
And welcome back to Real Ag Radio here on the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Pioneer Seeds Canada. You can find out more by going to pioneer.com/Canada. And if you're listening in the U.S., just stop at pioneer.com. Unless you want to visit the Canadian site, that's fine too. But we welcome you. Okay, let's do a bit of a wrap up here. We heard a lot of good things about the crops. Really, there is some challenges. You know, like we heard from Warren Schneckenburger in Morrisburg, Ontario, on the eastern side of the province. The rain could stop. It's a little bit wet. But Chris Allam, who we just heard from Edmonton, he talked about a generational crop. Knock on wood. We'll see. And we are hopeful. Let's hear what's going on around Saskatoon. This week's Pioneer Area Agronomist joining us is Colleen Redlick. Hey, Colleen, how's it going?
I'm great, Shaun. How are you?
I'm doing really good. How are the crops looking in those parts?
You know what? The territory I cover, I think there's tons of optimism. So, I go up into the northeast, and unfortunately we've had a few crops wiped by hail last week that were coming and looking really good. And there's going to be some recovery and some babysitting for guys to do up there to maybe try to bring them back. But overall, I think there's tons of optimism. I just met with my whole team today from around Saskatoon, and really, I don't know if we're staying generational crop. I don't have a big piece of wood to knock on yet, right? So, but compared to last year, just the mood and the excitement that everybody has over the crop and, our new hybrids and talking about tours today and getting growers out, we just have a ton of optimism about what we're going to see in the field. So it's a lovely change from 2023.
Yeah, and grower tours are a lot more fun when, one, the weather is nice, and two, we've got something to show besides, here's some more drought for you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And growers, like you said, optimistic, very optimistic about what's out in the fields. I would say that a little bit not as optimistic about the markets as we heard from a few of the farmers. There's definitely some concerns there. But we're kind of getting into that hail season, and Saskatoon got touched with some hail, did they not?
Yeah, we had, I didn't see any that was right around Saskatoon, but we were talking about the Langham Ag in Motion site. My agency up by Borden, she had a few fields that got hit by Blaine Lake area. So, there was kind of a swipe kind of north of the city. And then, like I mentioned, that northeast, Carrot River, obviously there was a big, issue with the storm that went through there and some damage. It was all over the Facebook pages. And then Alsham we'll be thinking of our growers up there that, had those great crops coming and now are going to have to manage them a little bit. But that's farming, I guess, is what one of my guys said to me today. So it is what it is.
Yeah, true enough. So now that we're off to a better start that honestly I think we anticipated, right? If you think back 60 days, we were hopeful, but we were kind of in the prove it to me, show me kind of mode. Now what we're hearing and seeing out there is everyone's trying to get spraying done, which is been frustrating because I keep on hearing from a lot of producers about the wind. There's a lot of top dressing going on, for sure. On the spraying front, and this is like, I know elementary agronomy, but make sure we're paying attention to the label and the rain fast and just there's so many decisions that are being made at this time. Just be careful when you do maybe push things a little bit. Be careful.
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of those conversations, right? It's just guys and gals, they need to get into the fields, get going quick, and some of those fundamentals sort of go out the window, right? So lots of the conversations we've had just, with your Liberty, you want a hot, humid day if you can get one, trying to plan those days in. Had a few conversations with some of my producers where, if they have both Liberty Link and Optimum Glide canola and it's been cooler the night before, obviously if you have a near frost event, the recommendation is 3 days before you spray again. We all know realistically that's not happening. But if you do have to on a cooler day, spray a product, we know that the glyphosate products are more tolerant to those type of conditions, right? So we've got guys talking about that, just how they're managing those spray days and those windows. And then a big one too, and it sounds kind of ridiculous, is how many guys have been phoning neighbors and saying, hey, what kind of canola is that's right beside my canola? Because it's a little breezy and I'm going to be spraying, right? So neighbors are maybe becoming friends and wanting to have a big block of the same HT all in one, which maybe is something you don't plan necessarily for, but they're finding the benefits to that. So yeah, making sure you're, like you say, following those labels, doing all the best practices, and doing your best to not drift your neighbors out has been a big one this year too. So. Yeah.
It makes it a little hard when you get together for curling in the winter if you've done some bad
awkward moment.
Yeah, especially if you're on the same curling team. Like that's super dangerous. One of the things during the commercial break that you mentioned that I hadn't thought of is that because we have been under this pretty significant dry bias over a lot of Western Canada, on and off, over the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've been sort of trained in our minds to make decisions based more towards the drought side of the equation. And we're seeing this year, because we've actually had some rain, we're seeing higher plant populations than typically we have seen because people were seeding for drought conditions. Is that bad? Is there a negative side to that? It's looking pretty carpety out there, but what are your thoughts?
It's definitely looking carpety, and I know we were walking some fields yesterday with one of my agencies up by Meath Park, and we were just talking about that. He was like, man, this looked really good from the road, but I get in and it's a lot of little plants. And we didn't throw that many squares down and do some counts, but I mean, just the eye test told me, that's more than that 5 to 7 plants that we're targeting with canola. And like you say, it's not that anyone did anything wrong. It's just, you have to figure your survivability out before you have really all the information. So I know a lot of guys were, dialing back their seeding rates a little bit as seeding persisted, and they started to realize, like, this is the best seed bed I have had to seed into in, a decade for some of them, right? So you get more plants coming, you get a higher plant population. Like, there's nothing you can really do now, but just thinking about how you're going to manage that crop. So, as these wetter conditions persist with canola, we think about sclerotinia, right? It's not a disease that most guys have seen be a real yield robber in the drought years, but this crop is looking like it could be a pretty big, thick one. So, how are you going to manage that? When you have more plants in there, you're going to get that humid microclimate, right? That is going to have those sclerotinia conditions. So we were definitely talking about that today, getting into the field, taking a look, and then also just standability. Lots of guys, that's a little more on the radar now with straight cutting and stuff like that. So having that conversation that, if this hybrid sees some lodging, that might not be the hybrid, right? That might be just you were a little bit overpopulated. So it's great news all around the fields. I don't want to be, doom and gloom, but sometimes even when things go really good, there is a little extra management you need to think about, right?
Yeah, good point. Thicker canopy. Watch out for that sclerotinia in the petal drop. That's actually a very in that thick canopy. Very good point, especially if we are getting the moisture. We've got that humidity inside that canopy. The other thing we learned on Monday night's agronomist episode when Dr. Jim Tansey was on the show, cabbage seed pod weevil populations are expected to be high. So scout, everybody. Hey, Colleen, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us here for the Farmer Rapid Fire.
You bet, Shaun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great stuff. And really appreciate Pioneer Seeds Canada for being our exclusive sponsor of our Thursday program. Make sure, like I said, you go to pioneer.com/Canada and you check out Viatude as well on the Corteva AgriScience website. If you have any feedback, send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. Thanks, everybody, for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio, and we'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.